Is this live, Paul?
This is live. Good evening and welcome. One of Notts County's most charismatic, popular and liveliest managers of this millennium is back with us tonight on the Magpie Circle. He's managed ourselves. He's managed tomorrow's opponents, Barnet, and he's got a National League title with Barnet into the bargain. Here to tell us how we get out of this damn league is Martin Allen. And not streetwise enough, conceding too many goals, not enough clean sheets, struggling with set pieces. Now, that's not my words. Those are the words of our captain, Kyle Cameron, in a searingly honest interview after our 2-1 home defeat at the hands of Grimsby on Saturday. I know a lot of you have got a lot to say about that. It's back-to-back defeats to Bromley and Grimsby in the past 7 days. What are your thoughts and views? Get sending them in now. But I want to start on something a little bit positive with Martin. Firstly, Martin, delighted you can join us. Thank you very much indeed.
Nice to be here. Nice to chat with you, Paul.
Hey, how did the golf go earlier today, by the way? You can blame me for ringing you on the course.
Okay, let me tell you. This morning at 6:45 at my local sports gym, which has got a golf course next to it. It's a nice place, if you know what I mean. I did a body pump class at 6:45 a.m. So that's all weights and power and lifting, and it's what the consultant told me. You got to lose some weight, you fat git. So I started doing these, and then this morning I had a chance to play golf afterwards. So don't tell anyone. I teed off at 9:30. My body from the body pump was in absolute bits. And there were, you know, when you have to hit a shot and then you queue and you wait, it was a competition, club competition. I was so bored. I was so cold. The bloke I was playing with was 83. Well, after a couple of holes, I totally just lost my concentration. The bloke that was 83 was just kept plodding it down the middle. My ball was going left and right. I couldn't putt. I couldn't chip. I kept thinning it on the irons. My drives were going all over the place. And from last week playing really, really well and looking forward to it, today I played like an absolute donkey. We got to the 9th hole. I said, sorry, chaps, I'm going. I shook. There was two other blokes, the 83-year-old and another bloke that looked like a Smurf. I shook their hands and said, I've never, ever played as bad as this. I'm bored. It's freezing. It's taken ages. I shook both their hands and walked off and went home.
Hey, I tell you what, there were a few of us at Meadow Lane midway through that second half that felt like walk going home. I tell you, but never mind. Now then,
was it that bad?
Positive one. You'll remember this because you've mentioned this before, and it's a nice one because I'm trying to get some good news into tonight because it's not great after the last 180 minutes. This is from Ian Marsden, a big Notts County fan. He says, Martin comes on, tell him from this van, this is Ian Marsden, that he gave me my love for the club back. So many memories. A Wes Morgan swing away from beating Nottingham Forest. We all remember that in the League Cup. But to meet him personally and to see my contribution on the dressing room wall will live with me forever. And there's a photo he sent in. It's not photocopied very well, but there's a picture of you shaking hands with him. And it's kind of like a motivational big piece of supporters' messages. Key emotions all on the wall. And it's very good. It's very good. And we might as well kick off getting into the nitty-gritty straight off. You are a man, clearly, with a huge amount of emotion. You recognise the fans, sacrifices, passion. A lot of what you do is motivational. At the minute, Notts, I think it's fair to say, are going down quite a data-driven statistical model. Yeah, so we have large sums of statistical analysis, a data-driven approach, a data-driven recruitment model. Yeah. As a manager, where do you balance the kind of motivation? Because if you know, I'm guessing when you picked up on those comments from our captain, Kyle Cameron, 6'2" centre half, streetwise, conceding too many goals. Yeah. Now, there's a lot of statistical analysis around there. There's perhaps sometimes a blood and thunder approach. Where are you on all of that?
I was lucky enough to win, or have been lucky enough to win 2 championships. One of them being League 2 with Gillingham, champions, and another one in the National League or Conference, whatever it was called, again, champions. And I made a conscious decision that we were going to play out from the back and the goalkeeper, play with a holding midfield player, play with 3 advanced midfield players, left, middle and right. And then we're going to play with 2 up front. So they're always going to have 2 up front. And when we were defending, one of those forwards had to come back and help on the back of the opposition's midfield players. So we'd always have 1 up front as a get-out pass. But what we tried to do and what we encouraged from pre-season training was to play and rotate positions and move about. Teams could not get near us. I promise you now. Gillingham, I think we went 7 straight wins. You just knew that we were going to win the league that early. We were top of the league for the whole season. Notts fans would probably say, well, it wasn't like that when you was with us, Martin, and I would agree with you. But the transition that we were making with some of those older players leaving Notts County at the time, and I'm not going to mention them by name, but I think proper Notts County fans would know, I needed another 6 or 7 months to transform that group. Some of the players I brought in were very, very good. And then some of them were still there, and I had to work with them, but it needed the turnover. And then I would have put into place that different way of playing. With Barnet, we did exactly the same. Everywhere we went, we passed the opposition and played football. We just won every game. I knew we was going to win the league before we'd even started the season. And we won our first game of the season away at Chester 4-1 or 4-0 or whatever it was. I think we was 4-0 up at half time. We hardly ever lost a game. So it can be done. It can be done with good recruitment. But my recruitment, in all honesty, was players that I'd watched in games who we were going to play against. Because I'd know from watching the videos who was good. We'd do research on the opposition to find out their best players from fans forums or whatever they called, all that stuff, who the best players were, who was rubbish, who was crap, and who was good. And then I had friends who would help me around the country because there was no scouting system at Barnet and very little, although I tried to put one into place at Notts County. To find the players that would suit me, that I could go and watch. And I had to cast my eye over each player before I signed them. And it was my responsibility to find them. And I used to drive my car all over the place. And for the Notts County fans, yes, it is true. On a Tuesday night, I drove from Nottingham to Fleetwood on a Tuesday night. And I watched a little bloke that I'd been told was a good player that's available called Varney. And sitting 2 seats away from me at the back of the stand was Mike Walsh, the chief scout of Leicester City Football Club. Yeah. And at half time, I'd said to him, who are you here to watch? Because, you chat in that little scouts lounge. And he said, oh, the little number 10. So I said, well, I didn't think he played back in the hole. I thought he played up on the shoulder. And he said, he can do both. He's fantastic. He said, Martin, he ain't going to be going to Notts County, mate. He'll be coming to Leicester. He said, we're going to take him. So that would be the sort of thing, and how I would find the players that I wanted. And so for what you've got at Notts County, I think it's good if you've got a team of data analysts, if you can afford them, to find right backs and then give your manager the opportunity or first team coach to go and watch the matches where say the right back would be playing, and then you have to go around 3 or 4 or 5 games to find them, to watch them, to see them, and the managers have to put the effort in. I don't always like watching them on videos and clips. Go and see them live, see how they warm up, see how they walk on the pitch, come off the pitch, how they react to different situations, get a feel for the player, and that's how I've always done it. So whether that's going to work for Notts County, I don't know. Does the manager pick any of the players?
I don't think any of us are. Certainly, the manager has, or head coach, I should say, is Ian's official title.
What's his name? The manager,
Ian Virginal. Ian Virginal.
Where's he from?
Where's he? He's a Leicester lad, actually. Originally, he's a Leicester lad, and his background in coaching was in Norway and Sweden.
Okay.
And he was kind of a left field appointment, I think. Our owners, Alexander and Christoph Reitz, are 2 Danish young brothers that have a sports betting company that operates out, or I should say, they have a sports data company that supplies a lot of football data to betting companies. And what they've done is kind of made available large amounts of the football data that they have, scouting, video, along the lines you've suggested, and they make that available, as I understand it, to the head coach and his coaching staff to see, like you say, draw up a list of right backs, a list of centre halves, and then see what the head coach thinks. And there is quite a big, you mentioned about budget and you not having one predominantly. There is a large budget at Notts for data analysis, data collection, video analysis. So there isn't just one guy there. There's a group of them.
Yeah, that's it. But before fans, before the supporters start criticising that and getting on their case and saying that model doesn't work, Brentford have adapted a very similar. Brighton have adapted a very similar model. Well, I think that's an okay word to use. So there is room for it. There definitely is room for it. Whether a young manager, is he young?
He's young, yes. He looks a lot younger than you and me.
Well, I'm only 38, so.
Oh dear! I wouldn't have said you were a day over 35 with them glasses on.
So no, who knows? I've been sitting here waiting for this to start tonight and looking at the league table. I mean, it's going to be very difficult for Notts County to. They're 4 points behind. 4 points is a lot of points. That takes time to make 4 points up, and their goals against record is not very good. 28 goals conceded is that's not good. That's poor. Bournemouth 25, Chesterfield 21, for Halifax 21. So they're well outside what you really need to be. So they're looking at the stats and how it is so far, you've got to say Notts County are going to struggle to get into the playoffs.
Really?
Grimsby,
Yeah.
You said to me, it's going to be tough for them, isn't it? Wrexham are going to keep going and be strong. They've picked up a bit, I think, Wrexham, haven't they?
In and out. I think that it's matching the expectations of the fans and the owners.
Yeah, they've got pressure on a lot of new players.
Because of the budget that has been spent, they are expected to win the majority of games. And I think at the minute, everyone that isn't firing on all cylinders compares themselves to a Stockport, where Dave Challoner is doing a remarkable job since moving from Hartlepool to Stockport.
He's a good manager. He knows what he's doing. He was very, very good at, is it Field or Filed?
Files.
What's it called?
Fiddle.
Field. He was very, very good there. Chesterfield have got some good players. They've got a very, very good centre forward who's an outstanding player, outstanding centre forward. And with a centre forward that gets you a lot of goals, then, you know, as we all know, you're going to be in with a chance of winning a lot of games. And they've got 47 goals. Stockport have got 53 and Notts County have got 41. So once again, they're well off of it. There's no way they're going to make it up into that top section. No way. Well behind. So who's accountable? That would be one question I would ask. So who is accountable? Is it the manager with these players that have been brought in for him by the data analysts? Or is it the manager that's accountable? Or is it the data analysts that are accountable? Because someone would have to be accountable, because that's not really good enough, I don't think, for Notts County to be in that position. So someone has got to hold their hands up and say, we have not done it. Whether that's the manager, whether that's the backroom staff, or whether it's the owners that have put that model into place, but it's clearly not working.
You've said, Martin, it's a delight listening to you. And I think just to recap, because I'd never heard this story before. So just to recap, while at Notts County, you went to scout a little-known striker called Jamie Vardy, who's gone on to play for England and bang all those goals in Leicester. He was on your radar, yeah? For Notts County.
Yeah.
Fair play. Not heard that one before. Never. And I don't know. Never heard that one. Very good. Very, very, very good.
Do you know what? Over the years, it's been because of my desire to want to try and do well and win. Where did it all come from? Okay, in the old days, there was a manager at Reading Football Club called Maurice Evans. Yeah. Maurice Evans was very, very successful at the lower level, and he went on to manage Oxford United when they won that League Cup in 1986 against the QPR team that I played in. Maurice was good friends because he also played in the same Reading team as my dad. Once a month, Maurice and his wife Mary would come to our house in Reading for dinner. Invariably, we would end up talking about football, obviously. And Maurice said to me, when I was finishing football, he said, if you're going to go down that road of coaching and managing, you've got to get out and watch football matches and find players. You're not going to get them all right. But if you sign 6 players and you get 3 or 4 right, you're on the good pathway. If you can't find the good players that are going to improve your team, then you're going to struggle. I've always remembered that. And I know that Maurice, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, normally the day off in the football club, Maurice would always be out everywhere, driving himself in his little car to find footballers. And if you did research that Oxford team in 1986 that won that cup final at Wembley Stadium, Maurice found a lot of those players, and it was from him. You know, there's a player called John Aldridge. Do you remember him?
Yeah, I do. Wasn't he at Newport at some point?
He found him at Newport.
Yeah.
So that's just one example. There's hundreds from Maurice. So he gave me that inspirational kind of seed, if you like, that made me. You know, it's quite a long way from Nottingham to watch Fleetwood, isn't it?
It is on a Tuesday night. It is on a Tuesday night.
I'll tell you what, I remember who they played. They played Bristol Rovers in a replay of the FA Cup. That's what it was. And gave me the chance to go and watch him. A couple of people had told me about him. So that's what you have to do. Whether the data and analysts that have come from universities actually would drive to Fleetwood to get a feel for what he's like, I doubt it.
Riveting as always, Martin. You've won you've got the T-shirt, okay, with Barnet, getting them out of this division. You will have seen, like many of us, the past certainly 2 seasons, there has been an explosion in budgets for some teams, transfer
Paul, I'm going to interrupt you, okay? When you're talking about getting promotion out this division, going back to signing of players, one Sunday afternoon, I drove from my house in Reading to a football club called Alfreton.
We know it, yeah.
And they played on a Sunday on telly. It was live on telly against Grimsby. And Alfreton had a centre forward who was part-time on like 200 quid a week from London. And in the first hour of that game, he was absolutely outstanding. And I thought to myself, I ain't leaving here until I find him, get him to agree to sign for me at Barnet. Now, I stand to be corrected, but Alfreton's about 15 minutes in it from Nottingham. And I thought to myself, how come there was no one scouting from Notts County at that game? And why was I the only one that was there? And I signed him, and he was the difference between us winning the league comfortably. We beat Bristol Rovers, who had a budget about 5 times as big as us. 5 times as big. They had players earning treble what my players were earning, and we still beat them easy to win the league. So why was there no one there from Notts County? That's an open question. I don't know the answer, but I've been on to get the champion, to be the champion. I got a medal that says champion. Best feeling. Notts County should have had him without a shadow of a doubt.
Okay, so you've won 2 championships, and you've stressed the importance of recruitment. Okay, get that. You've got a group of players that you are happy with. What does a manager have to do throughout that season to keep them together? How important is team spirit? You know, Martin O'Neill would always say to me, there's only ever 11 players at one time that will like the manager. They're the 11 he's picked for that Saturday or that Tuesday. The other 10 think you're a complete muppet temporarily while they're not in the team. What goes into keeping a group of players? How important is team spirit? Is it a fallacy? Are there players in those teams that actually couldn't stand the sight of each other, but realizing you got something, were prepared to tolerate each other? Is it all happy families? What's it like in that inner sanctum and a dressing room? And what does a manager have to do?
There's been quite a lot of clubs I've been at, and there's been about 5 players that like me. Oh dear. No, there's been some times where, oh my God, it's half hard. What's it like to get? How do you galvanise team spirit? Set out principles, set out values. I never went. In the end, I was different when I started. I never had a rule book. I just let the players decide what they thought we needed to be successful, and they wrote out their own type of guidance. On the field, offences were always looked after by the PFA. So it would start with the values and principles of what was acceptable. I was told that players at Notts County were having food fights at lunchtime and throwing food out of the windows upstairs on cars and people walking alongside and outside the main stand. So I don't think that's acceptable. I don't think that's funny. And I think it's disrespectful. And apparently it was happening on a regular basis. From what I've been told, obviously I wasn't there, so I don't know, but from what I was told, they were eating all sorts of rubbishy food, which is no good for professional athletes. And some of them were turning up to eat the food, and then some of them would go home. That's what was happening at Notts County. So I don't like all that. I don't do that sort of stuff. So we all had to sit down for dinner. they were all reminded that if anybody threw one piece of food out that window, then they would be the next ones going through that window. And how dare they ever be this? That's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. We are not going to do that. That is not how we're going to behave. So we put all those principles in place. And to be fair, all the players bought into it. And the ones that stepped out, well, they didn't step out. They got on and done it. To be fair to those lads, they were fantastic. They really were fantastic. And then I asked the players, I didn't tell them, you've been naughty, you're not doing this, you're not doing that. I asked them what was wrong. And I walked out of the room, I put a flip chart in there with loads of pens. I said, you write on these flip charts, don't put your name next to it, just write and be honest, what is crap at this football club and why you're having such a bad run. And they told me everything, what they didn't like. I promised them confidentiality. And I will not ever reveal what they wrote about certain people and certain individuals at the football club. But they gave me an insight into what it was actually like and what was going on and off the pitch, which obviously I need to know as a manager who they're going to trust. You need to know what's going to happen. And we kind of had a pact that I would never criticise them. They would never criticise each other. And if it goes well, they'd get all the credit. And if it doesn't go well, then I promised them that I would be the one that stands at the front and I'll take the crap, which, as we all know, as a manager, we've all done it. You get, dog's abuse. And then we had that next one as well. There was a guy called Carl Hawley, who was one of the nicest blokes you could ever meet. He's an absolute diamond. He's not flash. He's well behaved. He trains hard. He's a warrior, and a worrier, and he cares. And he'd lost his confidence. He had lost his confidence, and the fans who pay their money turned on him, which is their prerogative. They booed him. They sighed when he made an error. And I remember doing a press conference. I knew Carl was going to play. I told him he was going to play. And I told him to go and think about what I was going to say in the press conference on the Thursday afternoon. And I backed Carl 110%. And it's one of my proudest moments. When Carl Hawley played at home that day, he tried his nuts off. And every Notts County fan clapped him, cheered him, and they ended up singing his name. He may not have been your favourite player, but the boost in confidence. I'm still friends with Carl Hawley now, and every now and then he'll ring me up. He said, Mark, how you doing? Carl, how are you? And he'll always say, do you remember those games when you helped me get back going again? And I do, and it's a special, special thing. You get team spirit and camaraderie from moments like that. And the teams that spend the most money normally win the league, but not always. My Barnet team never had the most money. My Gillingham team, no way did we have the most money, no way. And we were 7 points clear virtually for the whole season. So it can be done. It is possible. It is possible. Can Notts County do it? Well, not this season, they ain't, no.
You made me feel much better now. Candid and honesty as always. I want to pick up on set pieces, kind of the roughy, tufty, scruffy stuff of the game. The reason I mention this is because it's a hot topic among Notts fans at the minute. Notts took the unusual step earlier this season of employing a full-time specialist set piece coach with particular emphasis on set pieces, restarts, that sort of thing. So it's a full-time position as part of the coaching staff. Before Ian arrived, I think it's fair to say we weren't great at defending set pieces. We conceded a lot of goals. We continue to concede a lot of set piece goals. And Grimsby got their winner from a set piece John Waterfall, the big centre half, knocking the ball down at the far post and them scoring for that in the last minute. Now, I don't want you really to sort of, because it's unfair to talk about set piece coach and all of that sort of thing, but talk to me about the importance you attached to set pieces and how, for instance, because I remember your sides, right? Very organised, very disciplined when you were at Notts. We would be 1 goal up, closing minutes, and we invariably would see games out. I remember it, invariably see games out. How much importance, how do you address things like defending set pieces? Do you, for instance, allocate players to their players before a game and you're marking him all game? Or do you delegate the captain or your lead centre half to organise, pick up people on post, not on post? How did you go through that?
My routines would be pre-training on a Thursday, before training started, that means. Name the team. They'd have already been out warming up anyway on their own. And then we would go through set plays at 40 minutes, attacking and defending, with the players that had been picked to play. The players that weren't playing in the starting 11 had to go behind the goal or to the side of the pitch with no footballs and had to watch. So that was it. And if you didn't want to watch and you wanted to mess about, then go home. So I used to go through those meticulous, step by step for every player, week in, week out. And then on a Friday morning when they'd come in, we would go through them real quick, and I'd have a ball in position in every area, attacking and defending. So balls at one end of the pitch. So there'd be a ball in the corner flag, in the corner bit, whatever they call that, and another one in there. So from this end, it'd be, and there'd be 2 balls down there. One would be the out swinging corner, and one would be the in swinging corner. And we'd go through the routine lightly and brightly because we obviously wanted to have a shorter, sharper Friday morning. And then at times we would go through those Thursday and Friday, and then we'd often have the youth team over to go through the work that we did on a Thursday on attacking and defending to play against the youth team. And then we'd stop it at different points to do set plays for and against in that little game against the youth team, to allow us to go through the routines that we'd worked on. Some people say players get bored of it, but if you're top of the league and going to be a champion, then you get on and do it. And if you're successful with good movement, good delivery, self-belief, confidence, yes, it can be worked on and it can be improved. But if you've got a donut of a centre-backs that don't like heading it, and won't put their head in the way of it, then that's no good. And that will obviously would come down then to recruitment. And we would check out with centre halves that I'd buy or get in on free transfers, how many goals centre backs have scored over the last 3 years. So if they've been getting 5 to 8, you'd want to sign him. If they were getting 1, if that, ain't scored for 3 years, you know when that ball goes in your box as an attacking centre-back, he ain't going to get it. So you also know as a defensive centre-back, he probably ain't going to get it either, because if he can't do it at that end, he ain't going to do it at this end. So the stats and the data about how many goals centre-backs have scored, I always thought it was very important. And it was confirmed to me by a manager called Mark McGee, who had met Sir Alex Ferguson. And Sir Alex had said to him, well, you need fullbacks that can get you, 3 or 4. You need centre-backs that can get you 6 or 8. You need a midfield player that can get you 12. You need another midfield player that can maybe get you 4 or 6, obviously the holding one. The 2 left and the right siders have got to get you, minimum 6, hopefully up to 10. and a centre forward, one of them's got to get at least 10, 12, and the other one you're hoping is going to get 20. And if you add all that lot up, it should give you the amount of goals in your team that's going to get you promoted. And then if you go and look at the club and how many goals they've scored that have won the league and been promoted for the last 3 years from that division, you will see how many goals you need to get in your team to get up average. So that comes from Sir Alex via Mark McGee. And that, again, would be something that I would always stick to. The more goals in your team, the more games you're going to win. I don't know how many goals are in Notts County's team, but if the centre-back's telling us all that they're no good at defending set plays, then, that ain't a great saying, is it really?
It's very interesting, and already the comments are coming in. We had a centre-half, Mark Ellis, been on the circuit quite a while, got 4 promotions under his belt, and we had him on loan last year, and he scored 5 goals in 10 games for us on loan. And I think there were quite a lot of people probably wanted him to sign. So the story goes, given his age, resale value, selling on players, that sort of thing, Notts didn't sign him. He signed for Barrow, and he's just rejoined Neil Ardley at Solihull. And I think that's kind of, some of the points that you're making there resonate directly with regards Mark Ellis. I'll tell you another point as well. You had Alan Sheehan, didn't you?
Yeah.
I've known Alan since he was 15 at Leicester, and in terms of set piece delivery, that left wand of his, then that's not far off Premier League standard when you're delivering set pieces, isn't it?
Top quality. He can edit at set plays as well, for and against.
Yeah.
Defending set plays, Sheehan would put his head on it, and he would go through brick walls for. He did for me. And if you don't treat him properly, then he will misbehave. There's no doubt about that. But he didn't misbehave with me. He was absolute top quality, and he's a naughty boy, and I love him. Great lad.
Yeah.
Five. When I go and watch West Ham quite a lot, and they've got a centre back called Dawson. He's come from Watford for not a lot of money at Premier League standards, and he scores goals on set plays, and he wins games at the Premier League on set plays. He wins them. Last year, when West Ham weren't playing so well, they had a midfield player called Souček who would score goals off set plays, and they had Dawson who would score goals. And West Ham were winning football matches. Beautiful. It weren't beautiful football. It was a free kick or a corner, and one of those two lads that invariably would go in and score. And their turnaround is absolutely fantastic. I tried to sign Dawson when he was at MK Dons, and he played for Rochdale, I think it was.
Yes,
and,
yeah.
In one season as a centre back, I think he scored 17 goals. Right, 17 goals for a centre back. What a player. He scored 3 against us. I think he got an hat trick. We were 4-0 down at half time, and he'd scored 3 of them from corners and free kicks. I'd have signed him any day, all day long, every day. You give me a player like that, and you're going to win a lot of games and get a lot of points. And obviously, he's gone on to have a great career. Set plays are crucial. So the fact that Notts County have gone on and got someone to take on that responsibility, I would say is a really good move. But then I'd also have an argument, well, all the money for the periphery players and staff and people, why don't you put all that money together, and you could have bought the centre forward that went from Boreham Wood to Chesterfield, and you could have had him instead of having all those people sitting in the stand that never win a football match. They sit and watch it, but they don't ever win it.
So we're talking Shimanga here, who's been a revelation, really, having moved from Boreham Wood to Chesterfield, top scorer in this league by a country mile, and has been bagging them in very consistently throughout the whole season. I guess he's kind of like your Akinde when you were at Barnet, correct?
Yeah. But there's another good example. There's another really, really good example. Wycombe Wanderers with Gareth Southgate. Okay. They were in the 2nd division. And I went to watch one of their games, and they only had like 15 players on the team sheet. So I was sitting in Gareth's office before the game.
This is Gareth Ainsworth, yeah, or Gareth Ainsworth.
Ainsworth, my mistake. My mistake, Gareth Ainsworth. And I said, how come you've only got 15 players? He went, what? And it all went quiet. I said, well, one of them's the goalkeeper coach, Barry Richardson, who's 37. He went, yeah. And he was looking at me like getting closer. He said, what's your problem? I said, well, what happens if you get injuries? He said, we don't get injuries. I said, well, he said, only 11 can play. He said, I've saved all the money for the 11 that can play, plus the other 2 or 3 lads. He said, we don't need that. We don't need all those extra players. He said, we've put all their money together and we put all our money into 15 players. That's our model. He said, I don't want all the other people hanging about. He said, I just want people. And then they also cut all their youth team. And they cut the whole youth, everything out. So when they were playing in the Championship last year, they still got the same model. They ain't got many players. They ain't got many at all. But they're all good. Because all the money that they've collected, they haven't got expensive throwing coaches or how to take a free kick coach. He's got the players who pays good money to win in football matches in his 14 or 15. He said in the old days he used to only play with 12 players anyway. It's true. So do you actually need all those extra people that's sitting in the stand who never, ever win a football match? They never go over the white line. Interesting.
Very. I want to pick up on the National League. You said that mostly, but not always, the team with the most money goes up. It has been interesting since Notts have been in this division. Largely, it's been the clubs that have gone under the radar. So Sutton have been promoted. Barrow were promoted. Hartlepool were promoted. And Harrogate were promoted. They're the 4 teams that have gone up. Have you been surprised by the level of spending and the attracting of established League One and League Two goal scorers? So I'm thinking of Paddy Madden dropping out of the league. I'm thinking of Ollie Palmer recently going from Wimbledon to Wrexham. Those players, there's a transfer fee involved, and it's not for us to discuss players' personal contracts, but clearly they are going on, I think it's fair to say, decent 6-figure salaries, which would not always have been the domain of the National League a few years ago. Are you surprised by that players will now drop out of the Football League to go into the National League, or do you just think it is a natural progression with more money in the National League?
No, it's we saw yesterday, didn't we, with Boreham Wood, the fantastic performance they put in. No, I don't think it's. I don't actually like it being called the National League. I don't know why it's called the National League. I don't know why it's just, was it Division 3 for me? I don't know, no difference to me. I don't know why they do that. Don't know. Someone's mad idea. It's just the next division down, isn't it? It's not just because it's called something different. It ain't no different. The grounds are good. There are decent clubs in there. Some of the smaller clubs are coming up and playing above their level, perhaps. The crowds are good. The atmosphere is good. The pitches are now much, much better, as we saw with the Kidderminster West Ham game. We played so well, Kidderminster. I'm very, very unlucky. So, no, it's not a million miles apart. The worst thing is for the supporters. They hate it.
Yes.
And, you know, all supporters hate being down in that division. They don't like that non-league stuff. And going to places like Bromley, who they've never even probably heard of as a place, let alone a football club. Eastleigh, you know, no disrespect to Eastleigh, but some of these places, lots of football supporters never even heard of them. So it's a big shock for football fans and staff, and that going down. And it's hard to get out. You've got to be a really, really good manager to get out of that National League. A really good manager, like myself.
Hey, were you surprised? Andy Woodman, best mates with Gareth Southgate, doing an excellent job at Bromley. He had a chance to go to Gillingham and effectively turned it down. Were you surprised, or having worked for Paul Scally, are you not surprised at all?
I can't comment on that one. I've got an evening with. This sounds a bit weird. Some chap has asked me to go to Gillingham on Thursday night, and I'm doing an evening with on Thursday night in Gillingham. So that's going to be my first time back to Gillingham since they sacked me. So I'm really looking forward to going back to Gillingham. I don't know the reasons for it. We can only speculate. But they're near the top of the league, aren't they, Bromley?
Yes, they're doing very well, and he's got some good players there. By the way, he's got some good players. Michael Cheek has scored a lot of goals consistently. They've got some very strong, powerful defenders. Bush is very good. Sometimes plays left back. The average height of their back line is about 6'8". But
yeah, it's in a good spot though. Bromley, it's a lot of clubs not too far from Bromley, so you are in a good position, which is one of the advantages. I thought with Barnet, there's a lot of football clubs not far from Barnet, a lot. So I always thought it would be a good place 2 weeks after the end of the season. Players that haven't got contracts or jobs or clubs, I thought, and that's how I was allowed or got to build a championship team, because I knew where all the players were, and they don't have to travel, they don't have to go into houses, and yeah, that's the logistics. So Bromley is in a good place. The reason he turned that down, I've absolutely no idea. I wouldn't know the answer to that.
You are the fountain of all knowledge. I remember you telling me about two young brothers who were going to be the next big thing while they were still in the National League. I think they were at Braintree. That was the Cowleys. Talk to me about Luke Garrard at Bromley, because all season people Bromley. My son's just marking my card here. Well done, son. Boreham Wood, yeah. And he's been there a long time already. He's had him in a playoff final. He's having a remarkable run in the FA Cup. He's still in the trophy. They sold their star man, their goal scorer, Shimanga, for 250 grand. They have got the best defensive record in this division. I think it's 15 goals by a country mile. How much is that? How much of that is down to Luke Garrard?
Oh yeah, and the chairman. The chairman and him are very, very close. They work very closely together. They've only conceded 15 goals, Boreham Wood. They work very closely together, and the chairman is hands-on. Everything he does is about Boreham Wood Football Club, and I think he works in the film business, doesn't he? Around Elstree or around that way.
Yeah, very close to the Elstree Studios, the ground.
Yeah. So he does something in that. He's I don't know how rich he is, but I suppose that's neither here nor there. He works very closely with the manager. They're very tight. They're close, and they support each other, I think. And Luke's he finds really good players. Luke does not sit at home watching EastEnders. He gets out and he finds players, and he gets young ones, and he doesn't get the old past it ones. He gets people on the way up. He gets people that've got energy, got legs. Got legs? That's a silly thing to say. Mobile, athletic, hungry, on the way up type players. And a couple of those players he had there yesterday, I've had, and he's done really, really well. And he finds players. He's a good networker. He's on the phone trying to find players, get players, picking my brains, picking people's brains. And will he make a step to go into the Football League? He probably will. I turned down opportunities to go into the Football League, and then when other bits came along, I thought, in the job that I do, I always knew that if you do 6 games and you get 6 defeats, all the crowd are going to boo you and want you out, and then cheap chairman would just get rid of you and sack you. So my philosophy was, well, before you come and sack me and boot me out and give me the bullet, if I get an opportunity to go on to do something better, then I'm going to do it. Sometimes I probably left football clubs too early to go where the money was, but I can't deny my dad got the sack when I was 10 years old from a football club, and it scarred me that someone would sack my dad. And I always thought from that young age, and my dad could have gone on to other clubs. When the going's good, get out, get going, and before they get you.
We look at Stockport are clearly the form team. Dave Challoner, he got Hartlepool promoted. He's dropped back in the league again, Stockport, where he has an affinity. What do you know about Dave as a character and as a manager?
He's quality. I took a team up there a few years ago to play at Fylde, and oh my God, they passed us off the pitch. They played us off the pitch, totally played us off the pitch. We beat them, but the football they played and the way they moved the ball about and the way he was in the technical area, I really liked him. And then a couple of months later, I saw him in a hospital. I hope he doesn't mind me saying, in a hospital waiting room where we were doing a League Managers Association annual MOT.
Yeah.
You know, what do they call it? A body service, if you like.
Health check, health check. Yeah, so cardiogram and everything.
Yeah, so I hope he doesn't mind me saying, but he was there. I was there for the same reasons, and I liked him. He didn't stop asking me questions for 45 minutes. What about this? What would you do about that? Where's this? What's about this? What was this? What was this? What was this? Da, 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 da. And I looked at him and I thought, you're a sponge for information and knowledge. And I wished him the very best of luck. And I said to him, if ever you want to chat, give me a call. I really liked him. I followed him. Yes, Stockport have got a big budget, but the way they play, they will go all the way. And I think with the Chesterfield group, with the centre forward they've got, I think they're going to go all the way. And I think it's going to be very, very difficult to beat those two teams.
So you think even with James Rowe having left Chesterfield, it was confirmed on Friday night, and he was clearly he transformed the club's fortunes from the moment he had walked in. You think even with him moving on, Chesterfield are still going to be a tough nut to crack this season?
Yeah, well, you never know. It might even galvanise them more. Those players, and I can't deny, I had some special times at Chesterfield. I met so many nice people who love their football club, and I would love to see Chesterfield get promoted. I've got to say, those people were so nice to me. They know I tried my best. I saved £23,000 per week off of their wage bill, which at the time I had to sell my centre forward to Notts County. There was no money, and I had to get in players for virtually nothing and try and put a team together. There was players that had been there for ages that were well past it and not doing it. So the passion of those people, they've only lost 2 games. That is some record up to now. It's only lost 2. Boreham would have only lost 2.
Yeah,
it's a fantastic record. It's going to be very, very difficult to catch them.
We'll come to the close, because thank you for your time as always, Martin. What do you say to Notts County fans? Because I think one of the challenges the club faces at the minute is every time we go to a home game, we go into this palatial, best part of 20,000 seats. You know, you could, if you got the football team right, you wouldn't need to spend a penny on the stadium, and you could play Premier League football there. Yeah, there's clearly an infrastructure in the background in terms of coaching staff, overnight things about the club. You know, our average crowd this season, 6,000, 9,000 against Grimsby, 9,500 against Wrexham. These are actually higher crowds than we were getting, and clearly there's a COVID bounce. than in the last couple of seasons when we were in the Football League. So it is inevitable. It is inevitable that supporters have, if I'm being brutally honest, it's an unfounded superiority complex. Yeah. When you were starting out, Notts County used to play in the top flight of English football in front of a ramshackle shed, at Notts County, and the boot was on the other foot. Little Notts County, the big clubs would come, and Notts would use that as a positive against the big clubs. The boot's now on the other foot. How do Notts harness this? Because there's no Notts fan that doesn't think we shouldn't be in the National League because we were appalling when we got relegated. But give us some chinks of light, Martin. What's got to happen?
Good recruitment. Good recruitment is absolutely key. Absolutely key. Good, strong leadership from the manager. He'll need all those 6,000 to be onside. When I mean onside, I mean to support the team. What I mean by support the team, if it's a quiet day and not a lot's happening, and you've got to get behind the team, you can't start abusing players because they lose confidence very quickly. So that camaraderie and unity amongst the players and the staff to generate that. And I would probably have to say, I haven't seen them play. I couldn't give you 100%. I haven't seen them play enough to actually say. But as I'm talking to you, I'm looking at the stats on my laptop, and they've lost 6 matches. It's going to be tough for them to do it because Wrexham, you could imagine Wrexham are going to continue to get better and better. They've got a lot of new players and they'll be bedding in those players, so they're going to get stronger. The harder and better and bigger the games, players like what Wrexham have got to probably win. The outsiders on that would probably be Solihull Moors. What can Notts County do? Don't know. I don't know enough about their manager. You're not being rude to him, but I don't know him. I don't know enough about him. I don't know enough about the owners. All I know is that when I was there as a manager, I absolutely loved it. The people were really good to me. And when I've come back and been a visitor to Meadow Lane, the Notts County fans have been really, really good to me and made me very, very welcome. And it was just such a shame with what happened with how it was being run behind the scenes, which I can't tell you all about. But if you knew, it was an absolute mockery. An absolute mockery behind the scenes, what I was having to deal with privately and quietly. And I couldn't reveal all because if I did, I wouldn't have got paid off. It was a ridiculous situation to be managing in, and it did affect my health. It did affect my well-being. And I did say to them numerous times, I remember winning away at Doncaster and thinking I was going to get sacked then. If you remember, we went there in the FA Cup, didn't we, and beat them. So that team weren't all that bad. But a lot of them needed to go. And I needed that money from them going, getting rid of about 8 and bringing in 4 good ones, similar to Wycombe Wanderers, to make us a force. And we were not far away from it.
You got Jeff Hughes in, and talking about that goal scoring capability. Was he top scorer? He got about 14 goals, didn't he? I seem to remember. Left side of midfield.
Yeah, I'd seen him play before, and he always got in at the far post. He was good in the air. He used to get in the box. He was mobile. He was athletic. He'd put his foot in for a tackle. He could defend set plays. That's what we spoke about earlier. He was good on set plays. He was very good on set plays against. Diamond professional. Good player. Good player. Lucky to get him. Very lucky to get him.
I think the other thing that you got, and why I think you were a good fit for Notts, was you kind of got what Notts were about. I'm a big into this. You got the DNA of Notts County. we are and have been since something like 1947, the second team in Nottingham. Yeah. So we need someone that can show a bit of spirit, show a bit of fight, galvanise the troops. And that was absolutely what you did. You gathered everyone around you, didn't you? Presumably your playing squad and fans, and you got a real sense of camaraderie, spirit, siege mentality, call it what you will. I mean, I think we all remember that game against Brighton, don't we? Gus Poyet in the dugout. You remember that one, last day of the season?
Yeah.
To stay up.
Never forget it.
You had huge spirit, huge battling capabilities and qualities, and I think at the minute, and there's a lot of debate. I'm not reading them out tonight because I appreciate people want to vent their spleen, and there are two, I think, wildly differing views in terms of where we are right now and what we would consider to be success and failure this season. But I think, whenever you sent a team out, we knew what we were going to get from those players, and that was kind of everything they had to give. Yeah.
You'd hope so, wouldn't you? Didn't always happen, though. Didn't always happen. But
No.
when players know they're going to be going and they're in cruise control, that's what you're going to get. And sometimes strong owners have to be strong, and they back their manager, and they should see that. How many of those players went on to play at a better level or anywhere decent? None of them. None of them. They all went down. Some of them quit. And I had all those players playing for me. I wasn't happy with it. I wasn't happy with what I was watching. But you stick with a manager when the times get tough, and you go through that because you can see a long-term pattern of what it's going to be like.
And how are you? You've spoken this morning. Let's end on a positive. You've done your whatever class it was at 6:45. You've managed 9 holes of golf. How is your assortment of Mutleys these days? And you look very healthy, and you certainly look like you've shed a few pounds. Are you in good health? Because that's the most important thing.
100% fit and well, physically, emotionally. However, after playing 9 holes of golf with an 83-year-old that beat me over 9 holes, mentally, I am absolutely distraught. I have never been so disappointed at a defeat. And when I shook his hand and walked off after 9 holes, I just shook and went, oh my God, can you believe he's just beat me? He's probably celebrating now. I've never, ever played such bad golf in all my life.
Yeah. Now, many of our flock, our Magpie Circle flock, were commandeered at various points to exercise your dog, Monty the Black Labrador, as I think it then was, particularly at away games. You'd be delegating someone to walk the dog around the ground for 20 minutes. So where are you with your Mutleys now? Did you have a Dachshund the last time we spoke?
Yeah, got one of them, Bill, and got a Monty. Unfortunately, passed away, so he's no longer with us, sadly. And I've got a replacement Black Labrador substitute who's looking fit and well, called Dennis.
So you've got Dennis the Black Labrador, and what's the Dachshund called?
Bill.
Dennis and Bill. I presume you take them out for walks at 6:45 every morning, yeah?
No, not when I'm going to the blinking classes. I don't. They can't come in and do body pump. Can you see a Black Labrador doing the weights like that? No. I walk them out most days. I'm lucky to live out in the country, so I've got plenty of places where I can walk them and try to be healthy really, and do all my little jobs I'm doing, and doing okay. I'll have to come back to Notts County soon and see everybody up there. That'd be really special.
Absolutely. I know everyone would love to see you. And tell me, because it's difficult for managers, isn't it?
We'll have to make this the last one because my battery's going to run out.
Okay. Have you got it out your system now that you are an ex-football manager and you like doing the pottering with West Ham, the hospitality, and Brentford, or is it if there's one right job that comes along, you might still go for it.
Earlier, I spoke about the knowledge of finding players, and I was addicted to finding footballers that I liked. I haven't done it for a good few years now, and so if I were to go back in, it would be a huge gamble. I wouldn't want to fail.
No.
And the only thing I wanted to do, which I hadn't fulfilled, I wanted to be a champion 3 times. That was my aim. Be a champion 3 times. There's not many people that get to win one and be a champion. So I feel very, very privileged that I'm a double champion. After being a manager with just fighting relegation. Could there be room for one more? I suppose if somebody rang me up and said, could you see you tomorrow? This is what we've got. This is what's happening. This is our situation. I would probably find it very difficult, but I haven't chased anybody. I haven't rang anybody. I sit and watch from afar. I do a lot of work with the Premier League on different things. So I keep myself busy. I keep myself ticking along. I keep myself fit. I play bad golf, go out on my bike, and my life is much sort of easier. If there was one more to come along, it would have to be very special.
Martin, before your batteries run flat, thank you very, very much indeed. It's a pleasure. I know from looking at all the comments on the side now, everyone's loved listening to you, and everyone could just carry on listening to you all night.
Well, let's do it again soon, Paul. Let's do it again soon.
Thank you very much indeed. We will let you crack on. Enjoy Gillingham and Mr. Scally on Thursday night.
And Mr. Scally won't be there. Right, good night. Good night to all the Notts County fans.
Take care.
Big hug to all those Notts County fans.
Good night.
Good night.